Capcom was going all in on the new franchise of Onimusha. In 2001, Onimusha Warlords was released on the PS2. In 2002, Onimusha Samurai's Destiny was also released on the PS2. But in 2003, the series really started to branch out. Previously, the series was an action-adventure game with some horror elements. Breaking away from that mold, Capcom developed a strategy role-playing game based on the Onimusha series and released it for the Game Boy Advance. Would this tactical, grid-based adventure keep the Oni spirit alive? Or would it confuse old and new fans of the series alike? What's up, gamers? You have TigerChainsaw here. Onimusha Tactics. Wow, did Capcom take a left turn in the direction of this franchise? Previously, Onimusha 1 and 2 were both adventure action games with some horror elements to it. They were also childhood games of mine that I loved. Onimusha Tactics, I didn't play, nor did I have until a couple of months ago, and playing through it really gives me a new perspective of the Onimusha franchise. Capcom did a lot of unique things with this game, and I'm excited to share my thoughts of Onimusha Tactics with you gamers. Now, if this is your first time on my channel, or if you just haven't yet, make sure you hit that sub button, as I have plenty of game reviews ranging from retro games to newer release games. So make sure you hit that sub button so you don't miss any of those, including my first two reviews of Onimusha 1 and Onimusha 2. Now, as stated in previous videos, I am going to be reviewing the entire Onimusha franchise. So let's get Onimusha Tactics in the spotlight and figure out what Capcom was thinking with this strategy role-playing game. Onimusha fever was in full swing by 2003. Having already released 2 hits on the PlayStation 2, Capcom developed and published Onimusha Tactics, a strategy role-playing game on the Game Boy Advance in November of 2003. This was a serious change in gameplay, but it did maintain some familiar faces in the Onimusha universe. Let's dive into this Onimusha Tactics review, starting with the plot. But be warned, spoilers are ahead. The Onimusha series doesn't have to have an in-depth, sophisticated plot to be fun. In the first 2 Onimusha games, Nobunaga, who was a real-life war general in feudal Japan, is killed in combat and is resurrected by the demons to try and take over Japan for them. In the first game, the demon lord Fortinbras is defeated instead of Nobunaga, as you don't get to battle with him. Now, in the second game, you do indeed battle him, but you are unable to kill him without the Oni Gauntlet. Nobunaga is left defeated, but is still very much kicking. Onimusha Tactics isn't exactly clear on where it takes place in the Onimusha universe timeline, but if my memory serves correctly, and that's a big if, I believe Onimusha Tactics takes place sometime between the first and second Onimusha games, and there's plenty of evidence to suggest that. The biggest piece of evidence is the fact that many characters from the cast of Onimusha 2 are in Onimusha Tactics, but certain events have not unfolded yet, making me believe this game does take place before the second game. The first Onimusha starred Samanosuke, while the second had Jubei as the main character. Onimusha Tactics once again changes protagonists with Onimaru. He lives a peaceful life in a countryside village, but one day Nobunaga's army invades and burns it all to the ground, very similar to what happened to Jubei in Onimusha 2. Onimaru seeks revenge and is given the Oni Gauntlet from a wise old man who informs Onimaru that he is actually a descendant of the Oni clan and that his mother was in possession of this gauntlet before she died. Onimusha Tactics doesn't stray too far from the usual plot of Onimusha games. After figuring out how to work the Oni Gauntlet, Onimaru and his sister start rounding up allies to defeat Nobunaga. Some of these allies are very familiar faces from Onimusha 2, including Kotaro, Iki, and Magoichi. Now there are some side stories and some side missions, but the overall impact of them are very little to the main plot of defeating Nobunaga. For Nobunaga to be defeated, Onimaru must gather the 4 gems of the beast and pair them with his team. After securing the gems, Onimaru and his squad face off with Nobunaga and defeat him, sealing him back into hell. For now. Onimusha Tactics is a strategy role-playing game with tactical elements. It's a bit of a curious choice for the series to go down this path, but Capcom was really trying to make Onimusha the next cash cow like Resident Evil. And so with that, Capcom tried to push Onimusha into different gaming genres. The first 2 games were action-adventure horror titles, but Capcom perhaps tried to reach new gamers, and Onimusha Tactics was developed, as well as Onimusha Blade Warriors, but you'll have to wait on next week's review for that one. For now, let's take a look at the good of Onimusha Tactics, and believe me, there's a lot of good to it. First, while some might gripe about the lack of music variation in the game, I, for one, love the pieces that were composed. You'll hear the same ones a lot, so I'm glad Capcom at least nailed them. They're simple, and they are fitting. Now the graphics have a great color scheme, and the enemies I thought were really well designed. Your cast of allies does look a little bit alike, but they are unique enough to tell them apart. I enjoyed the overall graphics, and honestly, that's saying something as someone who doesn't really care for the Game Boy Advance aesthetics. Now for the actual gameplay, I want to be clear on something. Onimusha Tactics keeps it simple. You will not go down a rabbit hole with the tactical combat here, or the control schemes, or elements of battles. I'm saying that because it is not a bad thing. Quite the opposite for someone like me who just dabbles in this genre but is not a pro. Onimusha Tactics was very welcoming to new gamers of the strategy role-playing genre. The controls were very easy to learn, and all the elements that do go into the tactics will not overwhelm you. Veteran players of SRPGs may want a little bit more or crave more control over the battle, but you're not going to find that in this game. For me, Onimusha Tactics is very friendly and simple. I think the best thing that Capcom did is design this tactical game for Onimusha fans, not the other way around. This is very much Onimusha, but tweaked for strategy gamers. Players will view the battlefield in a 3/4 top-down view on a gridded map. You'll also be able to select your squad, each of the characters having different abilities, weapons, stats, and reach. Weapons like swords, axes, spears, bows, and guns all have different power and reach. You can upgrade certain weapons with the souls that you collect. Just like in the first 2 Onimusha games, you'll collect souls after defeating each demon on the field. You can use these souls after the battle to upgrade certain weapons and become more powerful. I loved this aspect, and this element kept the game faithful to Onimusha. Besides souls, you can collect gems off the dead and use them to create new weapons, armor, and accessories. It gives the player some loot to play with after hard-earned victories. Aside from weapons, characters will have special abilities like healing or powerful attacks. The more you level up your characters, the more powerful they become. Another callback to the previous Onimusha games is the ability to Issen, which is a very powerful counter to an enemy attack that will instantly kill the demons. Your characters can signal to you that they are in position to Issen, and once selected, if any enemy is stupid enough to attack that character, they will be killed in one striking blow. Remember the Demon Realms from the first 2 games where you can go down each level and find a very useful item? Well, that also returns in Onimusha Tactics, but this time it's more used for grinding and collecting souls, but it's still useful. Some elements that don't pertain to the Onimusha series but are still very much worth talking about is that 1, there is no permadeath. This means you can get pretty aggressive with the battles. I, for one, have so much anxiety when playing permadeath games, so this was a nice little surprise. If one of your allies is defeated, it's not the end of the world. They'll be in the next battle. Defender mode is another move that you can use to severely cut the damage done to you. If facing a particularly powerful enemy, have a teammate cast Defender on you and make the battle that much easier. Now, something that I didn't care for was certain victory conditions to end battles. Sure, most games like this have them, but in Onimusha Tactics, it wasn't always clear or stated conditions. One example that I have is having to defeat 2 demon generals in the same turn. You are supposed to kill both of them, but it didn't state that they needed to be killed at the same time. If you kill one but not the other one will just respawn. That's a tough lesson to learn when the battles can take over 15 minutes. Now, most gamers will play at that pace, but for someone like me who is slow and steady during my battles, it can take up to 45 minutes when plotting my course to victory. I did not like those surprise conditions, and I did not like having to replay those battles. Speaking of playtime, most gamers will finish Onimusha Tactics in around 10 hours. Again, I'm a slow gamer, so for me it was more around 15 hours, but I did like the length of the game. I can't be playing 60-hour games all the time. Onimusha Tactics did have some cool ideas that I wish were more fleshed out. For example, there is a character who is half Genma and half human. That sounds awesome, and they could play a huge pivotal role, but they were kind of brushed to the side in the main plot. I would love to see those types of characters in other Onimusha games where they could have given them a proper story or purpose. Speaking of characters, I have to touch on the hilariously weird and creepy incest between Onimaru and his sister in the beginning. Maybe I missed a line of dialogue, but I'm pretty sure they are blood brother and sister. Either way, this little dialogue right here made me chuckle in an uncomfortable way. Onimusha Tactics is great for gamers who want to get into SRPGs because, as stated, this is geared toward Onimusha fans, not so much hardcore tactical gamers. So this is on the easier side, which I really enjoyed. The plot is a bit thin, but the battles, weapons, and upgrading offer enough to keep you entertained on this 10 to 15 hour journey. If you are an Onimusha fan, I recommend it. If you aren't, but you want to play a simple SRPG, play it. If you crave hardcore tactics, skip it. But Onimusha Tactics is getting a 7.5 out of 10, making this a surprisingly good game. So that was my review of Onimusha Tactics. Onimusha fans and gamers, now is the time that I get to hear from you. I really want to hear from those that played Onimusha Tactics when it was released. Did you get this game because you loved Onimusha, or did you get this game because you like tactical role-playing games? For me, as an Onimusha fan, I was intrigued enough to play through this game a couple months ago, and I'm glad I did. It really surprised me by how much I enjoyed it and how faithful it was with the small details to the Onimusha franchise. There's a lot of great things about this game, even if it's not for hardcore people that love tactical role-playing games. I'm not one of those people, so for me, I really liked it. But I would love to hear your thoughts on Onimusha Tactics below, whether you've played it or whether you want to play it now. Now, if you haven't yet, I highly encourage you guys to check out my first 2 reviews of the Onimusha franchise with Onimusha 1 and Onimusha 2. And of course, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button because I'm reviewing Onimusha Blade Warriors next, as well as Onimusha 3 and Onimusha Dawn of Dreams. You're not gonna wanna miss those reviews. Gamers, thanks for watching, and make sure you play a video game today.